Hey guys, in this video we'll be continuing with the Python video tutorials. We'll be going over the import statement and random numbers. So how to call module functions. So we'll be learning about the dot operator and the rand int function, and then we'll do we'll do the dice simulation, how to roll 2 dice, how to simulate that, and then in a command line, and then in kind of like a command line program, and then we'll do the same for a coin toss. So let's just start here. So I'm in PyCharm. So I'm using PyCharm. So here we'll just import. So it's just like Java, you just say import, and here we say random. No symbol on here though, no hashtag. No hashtag. Actually, I don't think Java has a hashtag either. So yeah, basically the exact same thing. And then here we'll do, so we'll just say def main. So we'll define a main function. And here we'll initialize a variable. We'll say, actually no, we could just say val. I like val, so val points to random. So that's, so we have to call the module name, then the dot operator. Now we're going to get all these different functions to use. If you're in PyCharm or some kind of good IDE, you should be able to type, once you import random, and then type random, and then the dot operator. So this is a dot operator. So we have different functions we can use. I don't think you can see these, but if you do that in PyCharm, hit the dot. I think in Visual Studio 2 should be any good IDE, you can see these. So hit the dot operator, so I could see random, seed, randint, random, all these different functions, rand, range, choice, abstract, set, and they go all the way down. There's about 50 of them. No, maybe between like 30 and 40. So there's a lot of functions that you can use. Python has a lot of modules you can use. So there's like a huge number of modules that you can use for different applications. Python's pretty popular these days. You can use almost every project has a spot for Python in the back end, I think. So yeah, we'll be going over different things with Python for a while. Probably you'd be using it for a while for a lot of different things. So yeah, once we get into more advanced topics. So we have here val points to random dot. Just on that note, I thought Java was actually fading out because Android didn't want. They're using Kotlin now. So actually, I mean Google, which owns Android, they're using Kotlin. So I thought Java was fading out. But it turns out that in a recent interview that I saw from Google employees, they said they're using Java for web services and email still. So Java still has a big role. They use anything there actually. They use Python, TypeScript, C, Kotlin obviously. They use a lot of stuff. JavaScript, CSS, HTML, XML. They use everything pretty much. So it's cool to know that those languages still aren't fading out. Alright, so anyways, we have val points to random dot here. So we'll call the randint function. It's all camel case, so it's just like that. Randint, and then we'll pass in parameters here, so it's going to be between 1 and 10. I believe that 10 is actually it's that actual 10, so the number is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I don't believe it's 10 minus 1, such as other languages. But we'll try that. So basically Val's gonna, so this function here, when we call random dot randint, that's going to return us a random number between 1 and 10. Now val is going to point to that number. It's going to be stored in val's memory location. So that's the whole point of this line. So here we'll just return it. We'll just type the string the val u is, and we'll pass in val as a we'll pass it into the print statement, and then here we'll just call main. So nothing too hard here outside of the indentation. There we go. So we don't really need to debug this. So as you can see, the value is 6. If we put a breakpoint here, this import statement just imports it automatically. Basically, it puts everything into, it loads everything into memory. So it loads all those random functions into memory. That's why if you have too many import statements, it can cause your program to lag. Can you actually continue with this? No, you can't. So in Java, I think you can actually just pick the functions you want, or the methods, to make it even faster, but in this case you can't here. Java is actually known for being really fast. It's actually faster than Kotlin. Which is why Google still uses Java, but they're trying to branch away from it. I don't know if they'll ever be able to make it faster than Kotlin. But I think Java's based on C too. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they'll ever be able to make it faster. Like the actual run execution time of those apps are faster in Java. I don't even know why they changed it, to be honest. It's just kind of dumb. Anyway, so now we'll move on to the next code here. So we'll go with the next random. It's the same. We're going to do the similar thing here. We'll just use a for loop and stuff. So we'll just delete this here. Here we'll import random again. And we'll say, we'll define a main function here. And here we'll say for count in range. We'll say 5, so of course that's going to be, actually we can say for I in range 5. So I is going to be between 0 and 4, because the range function goes from 0 to 4. I've explained that in previous videos. So here we'll say val points to random dot rand int. Then here we'll pass 2 parameters here between 1 and 100, so it's going to return a val between 1 and 100. And here we'll say print val. So this time, actually, is there a little bit more to this code? I think there is. No, there's not. So we just have a main call after. So notice how this was indented twice, because we have our define main. And then when you have a for loop, you have to indent again for any conditional, pretty much. So in normal coding, like other languages, I don't indent my conditionals or loops. I actually just indent this line. So that means that Python could get pretty diagonal in this case. I guess it could be the most diagonal language because there's no square brackets, so we have to keep indenting. So you could have code out here, pretty much. Yeah, you could probably have code way out there, I guess, in that case. So more of a diagonal language, I guess, if you know what I mean. If you see there, from that D to that F, there's a diagonal line going down to that V. So if you continue to branch like this, nested, you could be out here, or like, of course, much farther. It's hard to read code like that because you have to like scroll it sideways as you go down, so it's interesting. Alright, so what's happening here is that we have our import random, we have our define main function here. So the code starts in main, starts here, jumps here to the definition, then we jump in here. Now here it's gonna iterate from 0 to 4. So for the first iteration, which is 0, it's going to say val points to randint a 1 between 100. It's going to print the so as you can see, we'll just run this. So it's going to, so for the first iteration, this is the 0 iteration here for 40. So val pointed to random.randint between 1 to 100. Val returned 40. It printed 40. So if you notice, every iteration val is going to change. So for iteration 0, val is 40. For iteration 1, val is 52. For iteration 3, val is 69. You guys get it. So it continued 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 iterations, so 5 in total. And it just continued that process. So now we're going to move on to the next code here. Alright, so now let's move on to the dice. Actually, no, is there one more here? Alright, so you got one more before the dice and coin toss. So this is just displaying a random number. We can just print it. So here we go. I'll just show you guys what to do here. So we have, just write this again. So we'll have import random. We'll have a def main. We'll say for I in range 5. Indent, and we'll say print random.randint 1, so between 1 and 100. So we'll pass in one parameters, 1 for the first one, 100 for the second parameter. So instead, in this case here, we don't have a val pointing to this function call, which returns a value. In this case here, we're just gonna say we just want to print this value. So you can do that. You can just print a function value. If it returns a value, you can print it, as long as it's a type that can be printed. And then after that, we'll just call the main here. So same idea. Instead of val pointing to, so instead of val changing every time in this loop, we're just straight up printing it. So we'll just try that. So here we have for the 0 iteration, or 0th iteration. So for iteration 0, which is the first one, we have I equals to 0 here. Then we're printing random.randint, which is going to return a value 1 to 100, return 71. We just printed it. Then iteration 1, which is the second iteration. I is equal to 1. Then it prints another value between 1 and 100. I equals, then on the next iteration. We've gone through the loop process, how to like actually debug this. So if you guys haven't seen this, if you haven't seen that, watch the for loop video, and then we'll go through all that. You guys can see how because we debug this, we actually step through every iteration. That might help you guys understand. So yeah, so then after that, when I equals a 2, come back up to the loop, check the condition, I equals a 2. So I increments, I equals to I plus 1. It increments and I equals to 2. So then when I equals to 2, then we print the random number, which is 75. Then we increment I by then we come here, we go back up to the condition, we check the condition. then for i's in range, so as long as it's still in range when we add 1, then here, so you're gonna go I equals to I plus 1, so I is gonna equal to 3, it's gonna print 56. Loop back up, I equals I plus 1 for iteration 4, which is the last one. I is gonna point to 4, it's gonna still be true, it's still in range. It's gonna print out 62, and then finally at the last iteration, well, that was the last iteration for the, it's gonna check if I equals to I plus 1, that's gonna equal to 5. I is not in range because I has to be in range minus 1, so then this condition is false, the program ends. So hopefully you guys understand that. Now I'll just move on to the dice code. So we're going to simulate a rolling dice, or a pair of rolling dice. So here we'll just import random. We'll have 2 global constants here. So pretty much, excuse me. In Python, as we discussed in the last few videos, if you watch the last few videos in the playlist, we discussed global constants. If I didn't make it clear then, which I think I did, when we define a constant in Python, for example, min points to 1, max points to 6 in this case, because the dice can only return a value between 1 and 6, like a standard dice or a standard die. Basically, you can't change you can't change a global constant in Python. You can't change a global value without actually calling global, right? So we have to say global min like this in the function if we want to change it. In that case, if we don't do that, then the constant stays the same. There's no actual constant keyword in Python, as I mentioned. So that's the only way you can keep a constant the same, it's just by not changing it with the global keyword. So as we mentioned, to change global variables in Python within functions, you have to use the global keyword. So yeah, so in this case, that's the best we can do here. So here we'll say def main, and we'll say we'll create a local variable here. So again, if try to make things local if you can. So here we'll say again points to a string. So again points to y, and then here we'll say we'll say here, we'll call it while loop here. We'll say while again points to y. It's a lowercase y. Or, in this case, again points to uppercase y. So we're gonna make sure y is either uppercase or lowercase. Either one, we're gonna make sure the code allows for both of them. And here we'll just print out we'll print out an alert that we're rolling the dice. And then here after that, we'll print out the values of the dice are so here we'll just call it print another print and we'll say random dot randint. So we'll get our, actually not in a string, my bad. So here we'll say random dot randint. And we'll pass in the parameters of min and then max. So we're going to say, okay, we want a random value between 1 and 6. And here we'll say, we want to do the same thing again for that's dice 1. And we're going to do it twice for dice 2. So this is dice 1. So to say the exact same thing here, we'll pass in min comma max. So we're saying we want a random int between 1 and 6, so it's going to return us a value between 1 and 6, like a dice or a die. In that case, we're printing 2 to show that 2 dice have been rolled. So I can actually maybe, we can debug this one. So we'll put, actually after that we'll put the main call here. Oops. So I'll put a breakpoint here, I'll save it, Control S, and then I'll hit the debug icon in the top right corner. Something wrong here. Oh, whoops, there should be a semicolon here. Or a shift semicolon. Am I missing something else? What does it say here? Line 6. Well, oh, it doesn't like the brackets. Is that true? Yep, doesn't like the brackets. Something else here. Alright, so we got an infinity loop as you can see, so we gotta fix that. What does that say? I can't bring that text up. So we could put this in a, could do it like that. Should be okay. Is that another, does it not like that as well? What is the problem here? Okay, so let's say problems. Show me those, please. Can't see what that is. Okay. Line 7. Print rolling the dice. It's not showing me that. Oh, there we go. Okay, finally. Okay. Line. Oh, spelling mistake. My bad. There we go. But why can't I put brackets around this? I swear I figured it out how to do it last time. Is it really not like that? Damn. Okay. It doesn't like it like this either. Actually, can it be just like this, the whole thing? Nope, that's weird. You can't do it like this. Oh, I can do it like that. Okay, that's what I did last time. So you can put a loop in like that, or an if and else. Sometimes a for you can. I think you might have to put it around the whole for though, if you want to keep those brackets like other languages. All right, so I'll put a breakpoint here. I'll Control S and then hit the debug icon. So as you can see right off the bat, we have our global constants, min and max, which got loaded in right away. So we'll step into our main function call here. Execution transferred to our main function. First line again points to the string y. We have that in our variables. Now we're going to enter the loop while again points to, we're going to have to actually take some input here. Apologize. So there's just a little bit more to code here, I guess, because we want, or else this will be an infinity loop. So we should say here, we can just say, instead of again, we can just say, what I usually do is I say user str, user string or user choice. User choice works good here too. Either or. User choice string, whatever you want. So that's user choice str or user choice str. So here we'll just say we'll reset user choice str, so we'll say user choice str points to input casted to so input returns a string, and we'll say do you want to roll again? Or to say roll the dice again, question mark. And we'll just say y/n for yes or no, like a command prompt, as it's like a command prompt program. So we'll say input roll the dice again, y/n, which means just enter y/n. And then we call main. So we'll save that, re-debug that. Alright, so we have our constants here, and I'll step in to where we were. We have our user choice variable. So while user choice points to lowercase y, or user choice points to uppercase y, which is true in this case because y points to one of them, which is lowercase y. So we'll step in, print rolling the dice. So on the console we have that prompt here, rolling the dice. Then it says print the values of the dice are. So I'll step over that, which gets another prompt here, or an alert. Print, now it's going to print a random value between 1 and 6. We have 3. And here we'll print the next one, 1. So our dice roll is 3 and 1. Then we have user choice string, user choice str points to, again, it takes the input. So if I step over this, it's going to wait for input. So it says roll the dice again, yes or no, we'll hit Y. I'll hit enter. So since I hit Y, it's going to loop back up, check the condition. So in this case now, we've reset user choice, it's not Y. Sorry, it is Y, so it's going to check it's just gonna check it again, pretty much. Since we pretty well, because it's y in this case, and we are running this function in the debugger, it's gonna show us the condition again. So that's why we're back here. So now it's gonna check while user choice. So if I go back to our variables, we have y here for user choice, which is a string. So while user choice str is equal to lowercase y, which is true. In this case, the second part of the condition won't get checked if within an or conditional statement. If the first part is right, the compiler doesn't even bother checking the second part if it's an or. If it's an and, it has to check both. So in this case, we'll just say that we'll just check as well. So or user choice is equal to uppercase y. Well, it's either or. So we'll step in. So we have print rolling the dice. Prints that the values are, then prints two values. That's our second dice roll. And user choice str points to input roll the dice again. I'll step over. I'll hit N this time, hit enter. While it's gonna check if it's lowercase y or uppercase y, I'll step in. It was N, which this was false. The loop condition was false in this case. Now the program ended in that case. So there's our output. Starts here. And there we go. Alright, so we'll just do the last one here. Video's starting to get a little bit long, so we'll just do one more. So we'll do the coin toss now, which is pretty much similar. But it has an if and an else as well, so it's a little bit different. Alright, so here I'll say import random. We'll say we have some more constants here, so heads is 1. We'll just set heads to 1, tails to 2. And then we have tosses. We'll just say we have 20 tosses. So we'll say def main here. So we'll say for I in range. Tosses. We can use a variable here, or we can just put a number, it doesn't really matter. So for I in range tosses, we'll call an if here, so we'll show how to use it in if. I don't think it likes this. Like a while. Nope. For a for, I think you have to put if you want to use brackets, you have to put them around the whole thing like this. Or not like this. Nope. Wasn't there a way to do this last time? So we'll say for I in range, I guess 20, tosses points at 20, so we'll say if random dot randint. It doesn't like these brackets right now. Didn't work last time. Not like that, not like this. No, that's weird. I swear I figured out how to do it for fours too, but that's alright. So here we'll say if random.randint, which is passing, well, in the range I guess, but passing the parameters heads, comma, tails. So between 1 and 2, it's going to return us a value. Is equal to heads. I just put is equal to heads. Then Here we'll say then we want to print heads, the string. And here we'll say else we'll print tails. And after all that, we'll just call the main function here. Alright, so there's just there's one mistake here that we're trying to figure out where it is. So is there something here? Whoops, for I. Is that why it didn't work? For I forgot the int, so here just put an F here. Sorry, a bracket there, bracket here. No, here. No. Doesn't like that. No. Okay, let's just leave the brackets, the parentheses out. That's right. So we have our code here, importing random 3 constants main function for loop. So we'll go through it here. So we'll put a breakpoint here on line 11. I'll hit the debug icon. Alright, so we have our constants here before we actually get into the main function. So that was loaded into memory. We will step in to our main function. We'll step into the for loop, so I is going to equal to 0 in this case on the first iteration. So for in range, I in range between 0 and 19 in this case. Is that correct? Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so if random.randint between 1 and 2, so it's going to say if random.randint returns a value between 1 and 2, and that value equals heads. So it's going to happen all in one line. We could have done this in 2 lines. We could have gotten the value, then checked if it was heads. But here we're just doing it in 1 line. So if we step in, so we're not going to be able to see which one it is, so we'll just step in. We're going to know right away. Whoops, I stepped into the... Alright, so we'll step over that so you don't get into the randint actual built-in function here. Alright, so in this case, it doesn't show us what it returned. Alright, so it doesn't show us what it returned because we didn't save it to a value. But in this case, I guess it was equal to 1, so a random return, so the random function, or the randint function from the random module returned us a value of 1, so we're going to print heads. Now it's going to do this several times. So we have tails is working too, okay. So it's going to do it 20 times, so we'll just don't need to go over this. I mean, you guys understand the process of loops. We've gone over it several times. For me to explain this every time to you guys, probably waste of time for the viewers who know. So if you don't know how this loop works, check the for loop video. We've gone over it several times. We go over it in depth, how to loop debug, how I changes 0 to 19 and all of that, how it's going to iterate, what's going to happen to I, how I adds 1 each time, and all that. So just check it out if you haven't seen it. So this is going to continue 20 times. So it's going to flip the coin 20 times. So as you can see, heads, tails, heads, heads, tails, heads, tails, tails. Oh, it just heads, tails. And the code's done. So there you go. We've learned how to simulate a coin toss and a dice role. We've learned how to use the import statement, more practice with constants. We've learned some practice on loops, how to call modules with a dot operator to access their functions, how to just print a value, how to save a value to a variable, how to return a value from a value returning function, and all that. So if you guys understand, if you guys like the video, you can give me a thumbs up if you learned something. If you guys want to see more programming tutorials, you can subscribe to the channel if you'd like. There's more programming languages coming out. If you're into investing and trading stuff, check it out, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Take care.